On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing down payments shrinking for the first time in nearly 2 years, states with the highest home vacancy rates, and the May rental report. Today is Tuesday, June 17, 2025. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Hi from Connecticut. Welcome into the hot sheet. Sorry for the delay. Switching over from the BAM X members only role play. You get that every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Myself, Tom Toole, Lisa Chinati, and BAM X members going through the scripts and the strategies on how to have conversations. Hey, the summertime is here, and clients, consumers, customers, their timelines are going to lengthen. It's just part of the game. Graduation, 4th of July. Okay, August, the favorite phrase all of a sudden for Americans, they adopt it from over the pond is I want to go on holiday. Okay. Like the summer just creates a longer time frame, a longer decision-making process for a lot of real estate consumers. It actually brings great opportunity for buyers and investors. So buyers and investors should be like really excited about the summertime. Real estate professionals should be bringing that level of information to their customers because they can really benefit from a summer slowdown in timelines. I'm not talking a slowdown in existing home sales. Looks like we're a little bit ahead of pace, maybe from last year, or right on pace. Still basement numbers. I get it, slow down historically. I get all of that, but that's where I was coming from. Was the role play there for BAMX members inside of school.com/BAMX to jump into that in the future. All right. We got a report here out of Redfin. Okay. This is about down payments. Down payments are shrinking for nearly the first time in 2 years. Okay. So shrinking now as the market is kind of cooling off in a lot of parts. Think Sunbelt, those areas are going to have the market cooling off. Typical U.S. home buyer right now puts down 15%. That was unchanged from last year, but about 15.1%. So, hey, that might be a question at a picnic or a barbecue. By the way, bambbq.live if you want to get access to the next BAM virtual event, July 16th, bambbq.live. Haley will link it up. But the next barbecue, you may be asked the question, hey, how much do people typically put down? Well, a typical home buyer puts down 15%. But that all depends. Are you using a VA product? Are you using FHA? Are you using conventional? Are you, I've got a lot of private clients using an abundance of different strategies. I've got strategies and products that meet my clients where they're at. Be happy to walk you through those. Okay. But right now, typical U.S. home buyer putting down 15%. FHA and VA loans they're becoming more common as the housing market tilts towards buyers. So as buyers get a little bit more ability to negotiate, you're seeing some of those FHA and VA products kind of climb the ladder because there's less buyers competing. Okay, just over 15% of mortgage home buyers used an FHA loan, and just over 7% used the VA. Those are both those numbers are up from last year. Okay, median down payment though has fallen for the first time in nearly 2 years. Median down payment is down 0.8%. That's a year-over-year change in U.S. median down payment. And again, first time in 2 years that we've seen that number go down. Okay, so down 0.8% according to Redfin. Typical home buyer, of course, again, putting down 15% of the purchase price. That number was a lot greater. Just last July, last summer, that number was up closer to 20% as buyers were dealing with interest rates, and we saw maybe a little bit more cash in the market. That number has been up as high as 18% beginning of last year, 18% right after April of 2022. What happened in April of 2022 is interest rates shot up. What I like referring back, and I don't know if you guys are doing this, real estate agents. I don't know if you're doing this in your local market. Agents, I love doing this. is referring back to April 2022. Since April 2022, my team sold more listings in the state of Connecticut than any other team in the per the MLS. Why do I like using that on the radio? Is because since 2022, and I'll say this right on our local radio show, since 2022, sellers started to lock up the inventory, right? Everybody's heard the lock-in effect, even consumers. Hey, inventory got locked up because interest rates accelerated in April of 2022. Sellers were more picky and choosy, number one, about if they would put their house on the market. Sellers were more picky and choosy about the timeline in which they would consider going on the market as the rates brought more uncertainty. And number three, sellers became way more picky choosy on who they would list if they decided to make that next step, who they would list with. So like, what's something that you can latch on to since April 2022 in your business that really is going to speak to your target customer? Because April 2022, we see shifts like this one. Whoa, all of a sudden people putting down more down payments. Whoa, all of a sudden the inventory getting locked up tighter. Whoa, all of a sudden sellers making, more decisions. I like referring back to April 2022 when I'm sharing kind of those data boy stats, pat me on the back stats. Radio is a good place to do it. Maybe face-to-face at a BBQ, not, but it might be something you weave into the conversation. Might be something you do a soft CTA. When Ryan Serhant brought me on to a Zoom call recently to talk to his agents, I was talking about his ability to weave CTAs into natural conversation. It's an ability, it's a skill that you got to work on. That's why we're working on role plays here this morning. I want to work subtle CTAs. You think this BAMX thing here is there by by coincidence or there by design? Subtle CTAs really work. Share of buyers using FHVA loans are up slightly. Those numbers up 7.2% right now for VA versus 6.4 last year, 15.3 for FHA versus 14.2. Now, I think that's a good stat to share with buyers who are like a year ago in 2024. Hey, I got priced out of the market. I was, I couldn't compete with my loan in 2024, and I've been put on pause. I've been renting. We just had this question in the role play, like, I'm considering rent. I want to keep renting. So maybe somebody told you that in 2024. I'm going to rent for another year. Well, it's a year later. And so what we were working on today in the role play is OFQ, just simple opening fact question. Hey, this, it's Byron Lazine. Wanted to run something by you. It's actually a strategy that's been working for my private clients who had the same situation as you. You mind if I run it by you? Yeah, sure. Run it by me. So, hey, here's the deal. Here's the fact. Okay. Here's what's going on. We're actually seeing more VA and FHA loans actually get accepted right now. These numbers are up not only nationally, but they're up here more importantly for you locally. And I know you were looking at FHA. FHA loans are up. And the reason why they're up is sellers have less demand for the product, right? This is a supply and demand business. It's a supply and demand industry. And sellers don't have as many buyers. So good news for you is your loans are actually the product that was the best suited for you. It's actually climbing the ladder right now. So I don't know if that changes kind of where you're at, if you've extended your lease, or if the right property came along and you could use that desired FHA if you be a buyer today. Oh, you would. Good. What works better for you? Should we jump on a Zoom or do something in person? And then you just go ahead. Every point of a phone conversation from a sales professional is to set an appointment. If you're not setting appointments, then what are you doing on the phone? Okay. 31% of purchases are made in cash right now. So listen, that number's actually up a little bit. We're down to 25%. So, somebody asked, hey, how many people are buying cash? It's still high. It's still high. 3 out of 10 home purchases are cash. and 40% of homeowners own the property outright. I mean, this number pre-COVID, only would get as high as in the high 20s, and I saw some low spots down to the low 20s there. There is seasonality to that cash offer. All right. Here's where down payments were the highest. We got 3 California metros: San Francisco, Anaheim, San Jose. They put down 25%. They were the lowest in Virginia Beach, Detroit, Jacksonville. They fell in 11 of the metros. Biggest declines were Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tampa. Right, there's high inventory in Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tampa compared to where they were. So why do I need to put down a higher down payment? That's another conversation I'd be having as a real estate professional when I'm talking to buyers that kind of put their home search on pause in Jacksonville. Hey, you're on pause in Duval. Let's have a conversation about how the down payments are declining right now. 12 months after you went on pause, lower down payment, more ability to use the loan that you want, and better negotiating power. This may not last forever. And let's take a look at what's happened last time rates went lower. If you're just waiting for rates, let's take a look at what happened. Rates went lower in Jacksonville. Prices skyrocketed. All right. All cash were most prevalent in Cleveland and West Palm Beach. Roughly half the homes in those 2 locations were bought in cash. Jacksonville and Miami were 40%. Okay. They were least common in Oakland, San Jose, Seattle. Very expensive markets. Not that West Palm isn't and Miami isn't. But you got more of a, West Palm and Miami, you may have more of a, investor or retiree. Oakland, San Jose, Seattle, a lot of those purchases are going to be people working, pulling a mortgage. They increased in Cleveland, Baltimore, Philly. They declined Pittsburgh, Orlando, Sacramento. Okay. Here's where FHA loans were most prevalent: Riverside, California, Vegas, Tampa. Least prevalent: San Francisco, San Jose, Anaheim. Again, those California metros. All right. There you go. There's your Redfin report on where down payments are headed. What I really think is interesting, we'll put we'll put all of the information into BAMX for members. So just jump into school if you want to grab this stuff. Go over to Classroom, hot sheet data here. Go to today. And all those charts that I just used are available there for you. I think that the home buyer putting down less money, a little bit less money than recent memory, is valuable information. Down payment being down, it's valuable information to get a buyer who's kind of put on pause. Don't forget about the buyers that were put on pause here, just a couple of a year to 2 years ago. All right. Let's jump into next, Haley. We've got this vacancy report here. This is from the U.S. Census Bureau. And U.S. Census Bureau is reporting that in this analyzation from Highland Cabinetry, they took data from the U.S. Census Bureau and from Realtor.com, and they want to rank the states with the most vacant homes. Okay, so they've revealed through this analysis that there are over 16 million properties, roughly 10% of the housing stock, that sits empty nationwide. Okay, DC is top of the list. Why is DC top of the list with vacancy rates that are high among DC? Vacancy rate in DC is the rental vacancy rate's 9.8%. It's up 19.5. Obviously, there's a turnover in the political party, but the vacancy index score is 76.84. It's so without being a rental, the vacancy index at 76.84. Home ownership rate's 40%, lowest in the ranking. It's a very high turnover market, obviously DC with government jobs. You also probably in the homeowner vacancy category, you probably have a lot of members of Congress, whatever, where they own a home where they're stated, and they own another home in That one, the DC one's considered an investment property. So you're going to have some influence there. But here are the top 10 states with the most vacant homes. You've got, DC is number one, not a state. Mississippi, Colorado, North Dakota, New York, Illinois, Alabama, Wyoming, Arkansas, and Texas. So there's your top 10. Spokesperson for Highland Cabinetry said the prevalence of vacant homes across the U.S. presents an intriguing contrast in our housing landscape. Recent data shows that approximately 10% of the nation's housing inventory remains unoccupied, with vacancy rates varying significantly by region. Okay, so you've heard the numbers, 3 to 7 million homes short of supply, and then you say, wow, 16 million homes are considered vacant. Well, that's not good. If people didn't own second homes and investment properties, then that would kind of cure this problem. Not necessarily, because that's just not the reality of where we sit. And again, I think the 3 to 7 million is overstated. I think 3 to 7 million homes short of supply it has to come in a certain price category. Some of these second homes or vacation homes or investment properties are going to be well above that median price point that I'm talking about. Listen, I'm part of this problem. My home here in Connecticut would be considered a vacant home. I don't Airbnb it. I don't want somebody farting in my bed. I'm sorry, not something I'm cool with. I don't rent it out short term. I use it when I'm here. I use it, in the summer. I use it a little bit throughout the year. The rest of the time, it sits vacant. I want my clothes hanging in my closet. Okay. I'm not dumping this out into the market and going to go rent a property, and I'm not going to short-term rent it. So, I guess I'm part of this, housing stock that sits empty, but it's not sitting empty when I'm here. Okay. Roughly 10% of the housing stock does sit empty. And I think we just need more homes in the affordable price category. I don't think, worrying about this or creating a scenario where, you want to try to push some of these on the market. Now, some of the, if you were to give me a 12-month, talking about holidays, a 12-month holiday on capital gain tax, I may become a seller. So again, incentives to get some of this on the market could work. Here's your home ownership rate. DC 40%, Mississippi 73, Colorado 67, North Dakota 62, New York 54, Illinois 67, Alabama 74, Wyoming 74, Arkansas 67, Texas 63. That homeowner vacancy rate in 2021 was down in the ones. And the change, like DC 7.4%, Mississippi 15.3%. Rental vacancy rates, those are up as rentals have become more competitive. Days on market in all of these areas are up. And DC average price point 920,000, New York 650,000. Those are areas that don't speak to the need that we have on the shortage of homes. So there you go. Vacancy rates across the U.S. There's 16 million homes that are considered vacant, and investment properties, second homes, seasonal homes, that kind of thing. So the reason we did that webinar recently with PropStream, Haley, I don't know if you want to throw PropStreams. There's a free trial you can get with BAM. But it's one of the reasons why that data is so valuable. Like, hey, what are the vacant homes in my market? Maybe that seller's somebody who is thinking about considering, making a move. Unless you have the conversation, they're not going to reach out to you, based on your postcard. They're getting 10 of them. Okay. Listen, I know I always sound down on postcards, but postcards work really well when you get some conversations going. Oh, you also send me a postcard along with 9 other agents, but you're the only one I've spoken to because you're the only one following up with a call. The PropStream data will actually show you which homes are considered vacant but not rented, right? I think that's a really good analysis to go through. Hey, what homes are just not being used all that much? Now, you're going to talk to some owners like me. Hey, Unless you can figure out a way for me to avoid taxes, I'm not even considering it. But you're gonna find some others like, yeah, we've been thinking about it. We don't use the house anymore, whatever the case may be. Realtor.com's got a May rental report. Shows the U.S. median asking rent is $1,700, $1,705. That's up 19.6% from 2019, but still $54 below the August 22 peak. So we're below peak rental pricing. It's been on the decline since 22 in real data. Somebody wake up Jerome Powell. He and the FOMC are meeting today and tomorrow, so we're going to have a Jerome Powell week this week. Rents have been declining. Realtor.com shows that it's continuing to decline in real time. If the CPI caught up, we may be under 2% on real inflation. If the CPI data caught up, you got 22 straight months. Listen to this, 22 straight months, according to Realtor.com, of year-over-year declines on rents. They remain above pre-pandemic levels, but 20% since pre-pandemic. I mean, that's like less than 5% a year. I mean, I think landlords and multifamily owners would have wanted more. Okay, you saw way more on home price appreciation. We talked about this morning in the role play. Like if somebody ask me, so here's something really important. Okay, if somebody asks me, hey, listen, I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about renting. I want to buy. I want to be a homeowner. I'm on my own yard. I want to do a pizza oven in the back. I want the kids to have a yard to play. These are things I want. I definitely want to be a homeowner. But I think maybe I should still rent for a little while, maybe save up some more money. One, I want to diffuse the objection. Hey, renting's cheaper over the next 24 hours, over the next 30 days, and maybe even over the next month. Like, let's just acknowledge the facts. Side by side, renting versus owning, saving money. You'll save money today. You'll save money over the next 30 days. Probably even save money over the next 12 months. That's the generally speaking, on the macro of what's going on in this country, that's pretty much like baked in the cake. But what's the cake look like 12 years from now? The average homeowner tenure. What are you leaving on table if you kind of get stuck? Like, let me throw a crazy scenario by you, Mr. Buyer. If interest rates come down to 6 and the buying population doubles and you competitively get squeezed out of the market and kind of get stuck in that rental now for 4 years, has anybody walked you through the analysis of what you might be leaving on the table in that scenario? Now we're having a real conversation. Dude, I agree. Renting today is the cheaper option. Renting through the weekend, through the month, through the season, that's the cheaper option. It's just basic math. It is. But what's the long-term goals? Let's dig into that. Rents decline again. Nationwide rent is 3.1% below the 22 peak. And the only people we want to look at this week who won't is the FOMC. They'll look at old CPI data. The falling median asking rents point to slower shelter inflation and softer CPI ahead. So CPI, the inflation data that we've been that I'm furious with because it's 2 years old. You're finally seeing CPI inflation come down. That's the blue and the yellow. Okay. Blue is the CPI shelter. And the yellow is the overall CPI index, which is down to 2.4%. Okay. CPI is at 2.4. Inflation's at 2.4. Fed, you're supposed to start cutting. Once we get close to 2, we're going to cut. I think Powell is starting to play politics. I've given him way too much of a leash over the last couple of years. The shelter index is still up around 4%. That's an insane number because CPI factors in owner's equivalent rent. If CPI did not factor in a 1980s ridiculous survey, Gary, FOMC is the committee that makes the decisions on the rate cuts. So it's Jerome Powell and the cronies, the 12-person board. The monetary committee. Okay. So they're meeting today and tomorrow, and we'll have a Jerome Powell day on Thursday. So the CPI shelter index, which is still around 4, if you remove owner's equivalent rent, that would pull this down closer to 2. And the CPI index would actually show like 1.8, 1.6, something under 2% on overall inflation. And then everybody be screaming like, oh my God, like we're getting into a situation where we have disinflation. Like, they don't want to be under 2, remember? But that's really where we're at if you have real-time data, not owner's equivalent rent, on this thing. So look at median asking rent. It's in the negatives. How is CPI shelter index at 4 and median asking rent is in the negatives? It's because our government uses 1980s surveys asking homeowners who aren't professional. Just call Realtor.com. Just call Danielle Hale. Powell. Call Danielle Hale. Ask her to send you over a couple of charts and then cut the damn rate. Metros where rent is outpacing overall inflation over the past 6 years. Pittsburgh, Tampa, Miami, Indy, KC, Sacramento, New York, Jacksonville, and St. Louis. Okay. By the way, median asking rents in these areas. So these are, higher than the national average on the 6-year change. But Pittsburgh, $1,500. Tampa, $1,700. Miami, 20, 23, 24. I got that. Okay. Indy, $1,300. Indianapolis has a Burns Cigar Lounge, a Rocky Patel Burns Cigar Lounge. I may have to move to Indy. Okay. They got one in Naples. They got one in Indy. And they got one somewhere else. It's escaping me. But Kansas City, $1,400. Sacramento, $1,900. New York, $29. That's going to be hard. Jacksonville, $1,500. St. Louis, $1,300. Okay. So here are all the units. Studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. They all saw price declines. They're all down, trending towards down negative, down 2%. Rents are down. Here's the overall 1705. Studios, 1418. 1 bedrooms, 1582. 2 bedrooms, 1896. The biggest decline is the studio from the peak, down 4.8%, and the 1 bedrooms are down 4.6%. Realtor.com says student visa restrictions could cool rents even more where you have international student hubs. So think, surrounding Harvard or maybe Boston or maybe, Yale, where you have international students coming in that may cool off some of those rents. But some of those markets are already kind of overinflated anyways. The rental markets that have really cooled down is where they've built up more of the inventory. Those aren't those markets. All right. What's not going to cool down anytime soon is the conversations that we're gearing up for on June 16th. BAM BBQ. This is the third mega virtual event from BAM here for the year. It's a free virtual event. It's July 16th. Ryan Serhant's in from Serhant, CEO of Serhant. Leo Perea, CEO of EXP, he's in. And then the CEO of experience.com is in. 3 mega CEOs bringing the heat. This is an unbelievable event, and you can register now so you have a spot. It's going to be Wednesday, July 16th, 12 to 2 Eastern. Myself and Eric Simon, the broke agent, we're going to be manning the grill. We'll be moderating the conversations with that are happening, and obviously coordinating all of the entertainment that Eric is prepping us for on BAM BBQ, bambbq.live, link down below. If you're going to be in Arizona in September 24th, this is the only in-person BAM event of the year. Bamcamp.live is where you can get your tickets. BAM Mania, that's going to be in Q1, so don't get it confused. BAM Camp is the only in-person event here for 2025, Scottsdale, Arizona. And the mid-tier ticket pricing is already halfway sold out. VIP only has 8 spots left, and you can get in on bamcamp.live, Scottsdale, September 24th. Scottsdale, great restaurants, great golf. Can't wait to be out there. with the West Coast people. All right, there we go. There's your hot sheet here for the day. Coming up inside of BAM X, you've got Chris Benjamin tomorrow, 31 hours. We've got a office hours live with Chris Benjamin, 4:30 Eastern time tomorrow. All the data I shared here on the hot sheets in the hot sheet classroom in school for BAM X members. Got a real word coming up here on the channel a little bit later. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you guys then. Until then, of course, toodaloo.